What's up, Miniatures Paintbrush Legion, and welcome to another episode of Terrain Tutorials. Welcome back, TMP fans, and I need to say, you need to look yourself in the mirror and blow yourself kisses because you are beautiful. And welcome to another episode of Terrain Tutorials. Today we're going to paint up the Haemotrope Reactor, which is a pretty neat kind of thing. Kind of looks like a skull with a pancake. I'm kidding. It's going to go really well with the epic terrain table that I'm actually building. And let me tell you, I do have some really epic stuff to show you, right? I did do a little bit of freehand on this that I did not put in the video because I didn't know how it was going to turn out. And I just threw paint down and see what happened. And that's the little fire that you see right there inside there. I could do a tutorial on that, but really it's super simple. But maybe I will do. If you would like a tutorial on the flames that I did inside this little Haemotrope reactor, let me know, drop it down into the comments, and I'll get started with that. Speaking of getting started with it, let's go down to the Table Town and see how I get on with it. And we have arrived at Table Town. So first off, painting it with brown Rust-Oleum flat gray camouflage paint. I like doing that because I'm going to add some chipping medium onto it, which I'm just going to spray it lightly with my airbrush right here. You can brush it on, but I'm not sure. I've never tried to brush it on. I guess you would want to dilute it heavily and have that there. Now, I didn't overdo it with the chipping spray here, unfortunately. In fact, it became glossy. That's a little bit too much for me, but well, I was going to paint over it anyway. I wanted to try it out. And Mephiston Red, I did strain the paint before I put it in the airbrush because it has a habit of drying in the container it comes in and then clogging up an airbrush. So I strain it out. And I do have a video about straining out my paints. You can check them in my library if you would wish. Okay, so here I am going to do several coats. And the reason why I'm doing several coats here is because, one, the brown is dark, but it's going to simulate rust later on in the painting process. And that's why I added the chip medium. But two, the nature of the paint itself. You see, red is translucent. So after several coats, here I am, and I'm ready to add some black to it. I kept the paint scheme quite simple. I did wanted to match all the other ones, all the other terrain pieces that I've done. So I wanted to have that consistency. But at the same time, keeping a simple paint scheme really goes a long way, especially if you're doing large projects, which this terrain table, I would think is one of the largest projects that I have done so far. It definitely has the most detail. Now, I have done terrain tables before. I do have the inside of a ship, where I have, walls and all this great things that I can add to it. But I kept it simple there too. But keeping a simple paint scheme really does help with your longevity, painting something this large. All right, so now that the black paint is done, I'm going to hit this with some Dragonov Nightshade, which I put in this little holder for my shades because I don't want to drop the shades. Like I always kind of tip it over. So this is going to help me out here. I wanted to get rid of that one annoying kind of hair from the paintbrush that was like going off to the side. So I just clipped that sucker. Don't be afraid to clip your brushes just a little bit if you have frayed edges. So now I'm going to get into the little crevices that have the generator bits, which later on I'm going to paint blue with a little bit of white. So it looks like it's glowing a little bit, or at least looks like some kind of reactor and that some energy is actually going through it. So I did want to get that kind of effect. And then some jet exhaust. Really do like Vallejo metal color, which I use right here. Most realistic metal color in my opinion. So I just keep that in there. And I'm going to do all those areas here that are that dark jet exhaust. I am going to cut out and then show you when all my jet exhaust pieces are done. It's simply base coating. It is very, very simple here. And playing around with the paint, just like pushing pigment everywhere. That's all I'm doing is pushing pigment. In fact, we should not be called painters as much as pigment pushers, in my opinion, because that's what we're kind of doing. We're taking pigment and just spreading it around and coming up with a different kind of like effect every single time. So I don't know. I guess all painters in that aspect are pigment pushers. Time for some Prussian blue. I do like to use that as the undercoat for whenever I do blue lenses. It's such a deep, rich blue that I think that if I were to paint ultramarines, that would be my base color. And with that rich kind of blue, I can actually do ultramarines blue as a midtone and then go up a little higher. And I think that would make quite the effect, a striking effect when it comes to Space Marines. But right now, I only use it for lights and lighting effects. And that is going to be the dark area, the crystal, the piece of the light that's not 100% lit. Only because I like to do highlights on these lights here. There's another one over here that I'm going to cover as well. All right, and once I've done a color in the front, I'm going to go down to the back and I'm going to hit all the little wires. Well, not all of them, but just like space it out and do several of these wires back here. And every time I have a new color, I'll go from the back and do the wires in that color, including this right here, Wild Rider Red, which is orange, which I'm going to do for the edge highlighting of this miniature right here. So there I am, just plucking away and putting those edge highlights in. Edge highlights are quite simple. All you have to do is use the side of the brush and not the tip of the brush. And you may want to take your paint and whisk it off on a little piece of paper so this way you don't have an excess drop in there. And again, what I did to the miniature and with the edge highlighting, I'm going to actually add to some of these wirings and just alternating the wirings right there with the different colors. All right, time for this bone color. This is Andry Dust, which is the base color for my bone. And I'm going in there painting just the major bits. Later on, I'm going in with a airbrush just to clean things up and smooth them out. But right now, it's all brushwork. Now, keep in mind that this kind of bone over that red is also translucent paint, just like the red was translucent to the brown. Well, the bone color is translucent to the red. So what I do is I dilute my brush and kind of like overbrush everything with a nice thick layer first, and then dip my paintbrush in water and try to smooth things out as best as I can. It works pretty well at not leaving any kinds of brush marks onto the miniature. Just literally painting it thick and then dipping my paintbrush into water and then just pushing the paint around. And if you haven't tried that with difficult colors to paint, I recommend you do so. Just keep in mind before you put on that next coat of paint to really make it dry and let it dry. Sotek Green is next. One of my favorite colors is Sotek Green. I do love the way that color is like duck egg green and Sotek Green. Oh, they're just so good. So good. They're so satisfying to me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get in there, and that's going to provide my glow for the reactor, but also I wanted to put it as some of the colors of the wires as well to add more to the piece, to kind of like tie everything together using the color in multiple different ways throughout the miniature. So this way it's not just one spot highlight, like you can see a theme going through your miniature. It speaks volumes when you're painting or doing a paint scheme. You kind of want to like get a theme going, right, with your limited paint palette. All right, Shanti Bone is next. And for Shanti Bone, we're going to do a little highlight for the bone color here. Just dabbing here and there, smoothing out some highlights here to the Xandri dust, which looks, quite honestly, not very interesting standing alone. Now, it did come out smooth, but bone is rarely just one color. I mean, there are shadows and then there's highlights to bones as well. So that's what I did here. It was a little, I don't know, I might have been a little overzealous with doing the white there, doing the lighter color, Shanti Bone. But in the end, I'm very happy with how it came out, and the result was pretty amazing, in my opinion. Is for a quick little, dirty little Haemotrope Reactor, just getting that onto the table. I love doing terrain because it's like I'm not stressed about, anything with it. It's just having fun. A little bit of gold in here now, getting all the rivets and everything else all the way around there. And there's quite a few rivets on this thing. Surprisingly, there are a lot of bolts and stuff like that. But I want golden bolts because gold and red go well together. Yellow and red. All right, time for that Sotek green again, this time, and mixing it with some powdered white from Vallejo Model Color, and doing that little mixture on my brush there, just tapping up that reactor cores that are in between here. Now you have to steady your hand. You see I'm actually leaning onto the miniature, which is fine because it has chipping medium and I'm designing it for it to start wearing away a little bit of that red paint underneath. So touching the miniature is fine. It'll add some wearing detail to it. When you're done, of course, touching everything and weathering it, I recommend that you put a little bit of some varnish on it. That will help. Speaking of weathering, here it is. We're coming up to the last part, a last little detail here. And we're just going to add a little bit of weathering by taking a little bit of water and putting it onto a Q-tip, as you see here. Start wearing away some of the areas which will take the paint off because of the chipping medium. A great way to use chipping medium, in my opinion. All right, well, I hope you liked all these details. There's a lot of details in here that I went through, but I just used very simple colors that you see. Let me know how yours turns out. All right. See ya on the flip side.
My appetite, don't leave me here high and dry. Oh, well, I don't wanna jinx it, baby, and twist myself at the spine. Don't wanna overthink it, baby. It's just twist your body and mine.
I want to start off by thanking each and every one of you who made it this far into the video. You are truly the TMP Legion. So here we have it, the complete piece, going through and going to be a part of this huge epic terrain piece that I am doing, this entire terrain table that is really coming out amazing. And there's so many different componentries in it. When I do the reveal, it's going to be mind-blowing, or something like that, right? In any case, thank you so much for watching, and I do have to say this, hopefully you got something from this video, and I appreciate every single one of you every single day. And I do have some advice for you. May you paint every miniature to improve at least one skill, and may your backlog get ever smaller.
Step 1, wake up early, gonna rise with the sun. Step 2, get some good, some food in you. Step 3, think real hard about what you wanna be. Step 4, everybody just do your thing.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day.